You told me to cultivate my garden, and I have been. But what's a way I can better myself? You don't know me, but in general, what's a thing most people should do, but don't? Oh, brother. Grady 890. You would love the central concept of my book. That's what it's about. What people know they should do, but what they can't. All the sneaky manners in which they allow themselves to avoid doing those things that they don't. And it's not just one thing, it's very, very specific things. And lots of them. What is one thing? What's a thing people in general should do, but they don't? Be honest. Be honest with themselves. That's something that a lot of people don't do. It seems so very simple. But most people don't even know how to be honest with themselves. And think about it. To be honest, you need to know the truth. That gives you some sort of illusion that you need certainty. Right? You need some sort of God. You need some sort of certainty. There needs to be something concrete that you can strive after. Some absolute, some guarantee, some entitlement. But it doesn't exist. And in a sense, people use that fact to be quote-unquote honest with themselves. They tell themselves, hey, I need to know certainty, so I need to find certainty. So I need to spend my time looking for certainty, but it doesn't exist, not by their standards. They want something concrete. They want guidance. They want somebody that stands there and tells them exactly what they want to do every second of the day and guide them through it. So then they don't have to go through the anguish of finding out what they want to do. The pain that makes them commit to doing the things that they actually want to do. That's how you get to want to do things. You invest in those things. And you become attached to those things. Then you want to do those things. But there is no certainty in it. None apart from that you provide. So what is there to do? What is there to be honest about? The fact that there is no certainty? Well, that just gives you an abysmal void. No, what we can say is that there's a level to which we do not understand things. No matter how much comprehension you will get, there's a level that you will go to that you cannot keep going down, that the strands become too complex. You can't look any further than that. At some point we have to say, this is self-evident because everything else in my own personal philosophy, in my life, and my goals aligns with this one thing. That's as far as I need to go. For some people, that's a lot more simple than others. Some people, they have their science, their religion, their beliefs of sorts. And that is the self-evident basis which they stop going past. They don't go any further than that. And that's okay. But it's acknowledging that. It's being honest with yourself about that. That is something that you can be honest with yourself about. And finding that point is very important. You can't find that point until things cohere. And things won't cohere unless you spend a lot of time looking for that point. For me, personally, in my text, I call this someone's God. It's all the same to me. Religion, science, the rejection of religion. We all, on some level, have faith in something, whether it's the absence of a god or the presence of a god, or the absence of fact or the presence of fact, natural laws, so on and so forth. But how much time are you willing to spend finding out the minutia of what you believe in, and how much time do you want to actually spend living? Because there has to be a balance. If you spend all of your time in the pursuit of truth, you'll never be able to spend any time in the validation of that truth. You have to live it to know it. You have to live it to prove it, to validate it. You only need to go as far as you need to have the information that allows you to prove whatever philosophy of life that you're living. And it's the honesty about that. It's, where do I choose to stop? Where do I choose to allow things to be self-evident? That's what a lot of people won't be honest with themselves about. They'll say that they know more, they'll say that they know less, and they'll try to use that to prove things that don't actually exist. That becomes a problem, because suddenly reality does not cohere with their beliefs. You see this a lot with the sporadic interpretation of religious texts for certain political goals, and you see it the same way with interpretations of science for the same ends. It's conflicting with their philosophy. Do I trust the facts as they're stated? Do I trust the word as it's written? Well, does it cohere with your reality? You only need to do it insofar as things make sense and continue to make sense. And more importantly, be honest with yourself about it. And then, whatever that cohesion of beliefs ends up being, stick with it and live. Be honest about it with yourself and others. No amount of information will make your belief better than somebody else's, because eventually the further down you go, the more incorrect you'll become, and the further up you go, the more incorrect you'll become. Because if you know nothing, you know nothing, and if you know everything, you also know nothing, as all the philosophers of note have stated. Ignorance is not bliss, and neither is knowledge. It's a common trope. They say the man that knows everything has nothing to look forward to, and the man that knows nothing, oh, it's quite the same. Where's your balance? How much do you need to know? And how much will your pride allow you to be honest about it? I think that's where the balance needs to be struck. Because honesty has too much connotation with truth. Truth has too much connotation with certainty. But really, truth is just what we see evidenced in the world. And by that measure, that's all we really need to know. That's all we really need to be able to use. But it's so important that we be honest with ourselves and reconcile ourselves with how much we can know, and be okay with outsourcing the rest of it to whatever God we believe in. Science, religion, philosophy, who gives a shit? At some point you gotta stop reading and start living. I wish I was religious just to have faith in something. More so because I'm scared of death and the black abyss I'll go to after I perish. Here's the thing, is that whatever you believe in becomes real. It's real to you. If you can convince yourself to believe in something, it becomes absolutely 100% real to you. I've got an entire chapter outlined later in the book. Whole section titled, "The World is as it is in your mind." And you'll find this with everybody, is that everything they believe is a self-fulfilling prophecy. 100%. If somebody believes as if there's nothing after life, they'll live as if there's nothing after life. And I'm not trying to sell you on religion here, but I will tell you what I believe. What I know to be true is that life will continue after I die. Maybe it won't be mine, but it will be life. So what is there after I'm dead? People that I'll never know. Places that I'll never see. Is that a bad thing? No, because what can I do to have an influence on life after my death? Which is, I can create something that will benefit people who will be alive after I'm gone. To me, that is immortality in a sense. Whether it's through having children, raising them right, creating an invention that will benefit humanity for ages to come. Maybe if it's just ensuring that the flow of the world goes smoothly in a manner that allows us to just keep on living without so much conflict. There's so many people right now that are making the world a worse place to be in. Simply by their presence, simply by what they believe. They believe that the world is a horrible place. They believe that there's nothing after death. They believe that having children is a bad thing. And you know what? Their beliefs make that a reality. So I say that the least somebody can do is believe in something that will make that life after death a better place. Sort of create the heaven on earth that the Bible talks about. And it's not some end-all be-all, it's an incremental step. Right? Like the park rangers say, leave it cleaner than when you got there. Leave the place better off than it was when you were there. And you could link that back to environmentalism, hippy-dippy shit, but on the same level, you could link that back to the literal sense of immortality. Because I don't think that there is any literal reincarnation or sense that we can prove an immortality that is spiritual, divine, repetitious, an extended life in this universe. I think the closest thing that we can know in this experience here, which exists alongside the belief of the spiritual ones, it doesn't have to be exclusionary, is that we know that we can make the world a better place for the future generations. We can introduce new challenges to shape them. We can introduce new things to make their lives easier. But we have to strike a balance. But it all really comes back to whatever we believe in will in some form or shape influence our choices, which influence our circumstances, which influence our life events, which go on to make a cyclical pattern, which create a life that is generally, with the right or wrong beliefs, you could say, make a life that's not worth living, that will stand as an example, and that will have an impact. There is no life that anybody lives without an impact. There is no way that you can just live your life willy-nilly and forget about the rest of everybody else, because it does have a ripple effect. Monkey see, monkey do. We have mirror neurons. People are at very least influenced by the things that go on around them. We have a responsibility to that. To our beliefs. So what will we choose to believe in? What can we believe in with our current knowledge? Because this is a tricky bit. We can't ignore what we already know. We can't ignore what we already believe. We can't ignore the things that we already have faith in. So how do you get an atheist to believe in something more positive? Well, you simply point out the fact that even by scientific terms, saying that once your consciousness is just blipped out of nothing, it's not like the entire world is too. That's a very solipsistic and irrational worldview. You can't have that. It just destroys the credibility with the coherence with science. Right? So you give them this. You say life goes on without you. You can still do things in this lifetime to affect how that life goes on without you. What will you do about it? And you can say that same thing to the religious folks. You say, okay, you're going up to heaven. Maybe some people are going down to hell. But in this experience, we know that life will go on without us. So, here's this belief. Right? By your standards, by what you know, you can also believe in this. You can also know this to be true. And you can also let it influence the way that you act, that influences the way that other people act, that influences the way that things continue to go on. And that is something worth believing in. That is something that will likely create a life worth living. And that is my personal belief. That is my God, you might say, is that we still know that things will go on. And why can't we find a sense of purpose in that? Any idiot can. Somebody would have to be incredibly stupid to acknowledge all of that and then say, you know what? I don't actually want the purpose. I don't actually want to work for anything. I don't want to have anything to be responsible for, accountable to. I guess I didn't really want all of that anyways. I guess I didn't want to live. And they die bitter. Wah, boo-hoo. That's how I plan on selling it. That's how I felt back in the day when I thought that there was no purpose. And I was like, you know what? What's the point in all this? I said to myself, People think you're a smart fella. People think that you're kind of intelligent. Are you going to prove to them that you're so stupid as to not be able to find purpose, to be able to find meaning within this life? I got really pissed off. And it was me getting really pissed off at that sort of allowed me to start believing in things. Because of course you'll have some grandiose, flippant, stupid beliefs. And that'll be that. And those won't matter. You go out and you prove them, but eventually you'll find things that you can believe in.